Next speaker, like Patrick, doesn't need any any introduction. He joined the seafood industry in 1990, led an industry consortium to privatise the Sydney fish markets in 94. The business was previously owned by the Government of New South Wales and now has two equal shareholders, one representing the New South Wales fishermen and aquaculture, the other representing the on-site tenants. Graham always sits on the Sydney Fish Market as Chair, New South Wales Industry Council, National Seafood Industry Alliance Chair, National Aquaculture Council Director, and the New South Wales Primary Industry Ministerial Advisory Committee. As Chair of the Small Pelagic Fishery Industry Association, Graham publicly represented the interests of association member Seafish Tasmania. Please welcome Graham Turk.
Thanks, Arno. More importantly than all of that, I helped the Wallabies get over the Pumas last night, and I hope you were all watching. You should have been. God, where are we? Western Australia. Oh, God. They play that other game, don't they? Anthony, you'd have been up. When I was looking at what I was going to say on this subject today, I had a look at what I said in Port Lincoln 2 years ago. And and if I'd known what the previous three speakers were going to say, I would have just had one slide that said ditto. But here we are, we're back here. Same old issues, same old challenges. 2 years later. Anyway, I spoke to my co-directors on NSIA and said, what are the issues, what are the priorities? We ended up with 5. The first one, and it was good to hear Ian Kerno talk about it as well, that AFMA recognises it, but resource access obviously continues to be the main item of discussion, and we'll talk a bit about that. Economic viability, again Ian talked about that, economic viability of the industry, our social licence, the need for a representative voice for industry, and the Minister talked about that. There's one notable addition. One of our directors said, look, we keep talking about all these issues and problems and all the rest of it, but we never talk about the future. So anyway, let's have a look at the future. So first of all, resource access. It's unlikely that resource access is going to increase substantially. There are some minor exceptions. We might get more water or more land for aquaculture purposes, but if you have a look at what's happened with the small pelagic fishery and the grief that's happened there, increased access to the wild resource has got problems. There are two main factors in this. One's the physical environment and the challenges that physical environment faces. It's our working environment. The public doesn't understand that, but it's plagued by habitat destruction, marine debris, pollution from lots of sources, invasive pests, the impact of mining and telecommunications and other uses of the oceans on just what access we can have. And we also continue to battle with alternate uses of the marine environment, such as recreational fishing, conservation. From a political standpoint, we continue to wrestle with the issue of marine parks. I don't call them marine protected areas because they don't protect anything, but anyway. And if you look at one of our biggest challenges, and it was referred to yesterday, last night, that the closure of the inshore fisheries on the east coast of Australia, Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria, is just tragic. Secondly, economic viability. We've got to have an economically viable industry for survival, let alone growth. The cost of endless red and green tape, it's not just Capitol Hill, and I think the people in Capitol Hill are serious about trying to reduce red tape, but it doesn't seem to flow much from there. We've got to fight to cling on to the fuel rebate at every election. One of our senators described it as a win-win because it's something that we get back every election that they were never going to take away from us. So they win, we win. Country of origin labelling, we've sort of lost that battle, but we're still going to fight it because it will add value to our products. The uncertainty created by industry restructuring result in banks not acknowledging the value of the access right that we have. If you take quota to the bank and try and get a loan on it, you'll get 20 cents in the dollar maybe. Where's the next generation of fishers and farmers going to come from? So training and recruitment are still critical issues. And free trade agreements are important for our export markets. We haven't yet tackled the challenge of the doom and gloom and guilt industry, and it's only a matter of time before we're targeted by animal welfare activists. The Humane Society at the moment is targeting game fishing, for example. We need to promote the initiatives being undertaken by industry and get rid of those people who are irresponsible with the management of our resource. Address the issue of a code of practice and tell the public that we value and protect our working environment. And finally, seafood is constantly under the microscope as far as foodborne illness is concerned, and you've all, I'm sure, had to say to your friends, look, it was probably more the salad, not the seafood. The initiative announced by Senator Ruston is fundamental to industry presenting its credentials and building our social licence within the community. In 2015, we remain weakened by the lack of a well-funded, effective peak industry body. NSIA has achieved some great things, I think, but it still operates on a voluntary basis with no industry funding, no resources, no human resources, no financial resources. Government's given us $500,000 to establish that voice. That voice needs to be loud, it needs to be strong, and it needs to be unified. And again, the Minister referred to that program, and I'll talk a bit more about that. Government needs a representative body. We need a representative body. Government can't consult with thousands of fishers and seafood retailers and wholesalers. It needs a communication channel, and we need a communication channel to government. If we are to be heard, we also need credible baseline data to validate our claims. And finally, what about the future? Are we even looking that far forward? Some exporters are, but what's the rest of industry doing? We're fighting for survival mostly. What are the needs of industry 5, 10, 15 years from now? So, we've got to seize the two key opportunities that are right in front of us. One is creating a sustainably funded industry peak body, and the second is to execute a tailored and compelling communication strategy that results in increased confidence and pride in Australian seafood. We can then collectively tackle the issues of access, which didn't come up, yes we are, we got a tick, economic viability, social licence, being heard and planning for the future. So once again, I urge you to attend Brian Ramsey's presentation on the issue of peak body. It's an important one. He will outline the process that NSIA is going through to try and create that industry-funded body. There are a number of presentations during the conference on marketing. I would encourage you to particularly go along to Brian Skepper's presentation to discuss an action plan for improving the community's perception of industry, and the Department of Agriculture's presentation on the proposed communications strategy. Thank you.